Grath was a planet that few would want to call home. Its sky was dark, filled with swirling storms that never stopped. The ground was rocky and cracked, covered with thorny bushes and strange creatures that often attacked without warning. The air was thin, and the sun was weak. Every day was a test of strength and will for the people who lived there. These people were called the Deathworlders. They had grown tough and strong because life on Grath was never easy. From childhood, they learned how to fight, how to hunt, and how to survive when the world itself seemed to want to kill them. The Deathworlders did not fear danger. Instead, they welcomed it because it made them better. Marn was the leader of the small colony on Grath. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Marn had grown up on the planet and knew every rock and every storm. He was proud of his people and cared deeply for their safety. But Marn also believed that the Deathworlders were meant for more than just surviving on this harsh world. One evening, as the sky turned a dull red from the setting sun, Marn was in the colony's command room. The walls were made of thick metal and old machines that hummed softly. The colony's communication devices were old, but still worked well enough to scan the stars. Suddenly, the screen flickered. Strange signals appeared. The machine showed strange patterns, unlike anything Marn had seen before. His heart beat faster. This was not a normal signal. It was a call for help. He called his closest advisors, Ral and Nora, to the command room. Ral was a strong and quiet man who led the colony's warriors. Nora was smart and careful, in charge of the colony's technology and data. Together, they watched the signal carefully. "It's a message," Nora said, her voice full of surprise. "An SOS from far away, from a planet called Zelran." Marn frowned. Zelran was far from Grath, and no one knew much about it. But the message was clear. The Zelran people were in trouble. Their world was under attack by a powerful enemy. They needed help fast. Ral's hands tightened into fists. "We should ignore it. We barely have enough supplies to protect ourselves here. Why risk our people for a faraway planet?" Nora shook her head. "We cannot just turn away. If someone needed help, wouldn't we want them to come?" Marn looked at them both. He understood their fears. The colony was weak compared to the huge empires in space. But Marn also felt something deep inside. The Deathworlders were born to fight and survive. Maybe it was time to use their strength to protect others. He stood up straight. "We cannot ignore the SOS. We have the skill and the will to help. The Deathworlders have always faced danger head-on. This is our chance to show the stars who we are." His words filled the room with a new hope. The decision was made. The colony would send a fleet to help the Zelran. But it would not be easy. The colony's ships were old and slow. They were built for mining and exploration, not war. Marn called the engineers and soldiers to begin work. Every hand was needed to prepare the fleet. Ral and Nora worked together to train the warriors. They taught them new fighting skills and how to operate the ships in battle. The soldiers practiced day and night, pushing themselves harder than ever before. Nora also worked on the communication systems to keep contact with the Zelran and other friendly forces. Marn walked through the colony each day, watching the people work. Children who once played quietly now learned how to handle weapons. Farmers and miners learned to fight. Everyone understood that the future of their people depended on this mission. One night, Marn looked up at the stars. The signal from Zelran was still strong, shining like a small light in the darkness. He thought about the unknown dangers ahead. He knew many would not return. But Marn also knew that the Deathworlders did not run from danger. They faced it. The colony's council gathered to discuss their plan. They knew they would face enemies stronger and more advanced than anything they had seen. But they also believed that their harsh life had prepared them well. Nora spoke clearly. "Our advantage is that we are used to death and hardship. We know how to survive when everything is against us. This is what makes us strong." Ral added, "The invaders will not expect warriors who live on a world like Grath. They will be surprised by our courage and strength." Marn nodded. "Then we will show them. We will answer the call for help with all we have. We are Deathworlders." The day came when the fleet was ready, old ships, painted with new armor and weapons, stood ready on the launch pads. Soldiers in tough armor stood beside them, their faces set with determination. Marn stood at the front, looking at his people. "This is not just a fight for the Zelran," he said. "It is a fight for all who believe in survival, in strength, and in hope. We will go to the stars and show what Deathworlders can do." With a loud roar, the fleet took off. The ships climbed through the thick atmosphere of Grath, leaving behind the rocky planet and its storms. Ahead lay the unknown. Danger waited in the darkness of space. But the Deathworlders were ready. They answered the SOS not with fear, but with a fleet of destruction, a force born from a world where only the strongest survive. The stars stretched endlessly around the fleet as the ships left Grath's atmosphere. Marn stood on the command bridge of the lead ship. The dark space outside was filled with tiny points of light, each a distant star or planet. The cold silence made the small hum of the ship's engines louder. Marn felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. The lives of his people and the fate of the Zelran hung on this mission. The ships were old and worn. They had once been used for mining the dangerous minerals hidden beneath Grath's surface. Now, they were armed with salvaged weapons and patched with metal plates. The fleet was far from perfect, but it was all the colony had. Ralph stood nearby, watching the training simulations displayed on the holographic screen. Soldiers practiced fighting in zero gravity and running through virtual battlefields. They learned to use new weapons they had never seen before. Ralph saw the tension in the faces of the young warriors. Many had never left Grath's surface. Until now, their muscles were strong from years of surviving in harsh conditions. But space combat was a new challenge. "Do you think they are ready?" Marn asked quietly. Ralph nodded. "They are strong, the toughest I have ever seen. But strength alone will not win this war. They must learn to fight smart." Nora joined them, her eyes shining with quiet confidence. "We have trained hard. Our technology may be old, but we have something no one else has, the will to survive. We must use that." Marn turned to her. "I agree. The Zelran are counting on us. We must not fail." Inside the ships, every corner was busy with preparation. Engineers worked to improve the weapons and engines. Mechanics checked every system, making sure nothing would break in battle. The soldiers drilled every day, practicing teamwork and tactics. Even the cooks and medics trained for emergencies. The whole colony was united by the same goal. One day, Nora invited Marn to the communications room. The room was filled with blinking consoles and screens showing star maps and data. She showed him the latest message from the Zelran. "They are losing ground fast," she said. "The invaders' ships are faster and more powerful than anything we expected. They attack in waves, destroying cities and defenses. The Zelran are brave, but they need help now." Marn clenched his fists. The urgency of the message was clear. They had to reach the Zelran soon or lose everything. The Deathworlders' fleet was small compared to the enemy forces. But Marn believed in his people. "We must use our advantage," he said. "The invaders expect to fight against armies with advanced weapons and large numbers. They do not expect warriors who have lived and fought on a death world." Ralph smiled grimly. "Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." As the fleet traveled, the crew faced new dangers. Space was not empty. Asteroids drifted between stars, some large enough to destroy a ship if hit. The crew learned to navigate carefully, watching for hidden threats. One day, an asteroid storm hit the fleet without warning. Rocks of all sizes flew through space, crashing into ships. Alarms blared as the crew rushed to shield their vessels. Marn ordered emergency maneuvers. The ships twisted and turned, dodging the deadly rocks. Ralph led a team to repair damaged ships. Nora coordinated communications, keeping everyone connected. After hours of chaos, the fleet was battered but still flying. "Space will test us every step," Marn said. "We must be ready for anything." Despite the dangers, the journey brought the Deathworlders closer together. Soldiers who once feared space now moved with confidence. Engineers who doubted their skills found new strength. The colony became a single unit, ready for battle. Marn often walked among the crew, speaking with soldiers and workers. He listened to their stories and fears. Many had families waiting back on Grath. They fought not just for the Zelran, but for their own future. One evening, Marn met a young soldier named Leon. She had grown up hunting the deadly creatures of Grath and was known for her courage. Leon told Marn about her dreams of seeing new worlds and making her people proud. "We have trained for this," Leon said. "The invaders will learn that Deathworlders never give up. We fight for our home and for those who cannot fight." Marn smiled. "You speak for us all. Your courage will inspire many." The fleet finally reached the edge of the Zelran system. Ahead lay war and destruction. Planets burned and wreckage floated in space. The Zelran ships fought desperately, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Marn gathered his commanders. "This is the moment we prepared for. We will not charge blindly. We will strike where they least expect us. Our strength is in our will and our skill. Let us show the invaders the power of Deathworlders." Ral checked the weapons systems. Nora confirmed communications with Zelran allies. The soldiers tightened their grips on their gear. As the fleet moved closer to battle, Marn's mind was clear. He thought about Grath, about the storms and dangers that had made them strong. He thought about the Zelran, struggling alone and afraid. The Deathworlders were no longer just survivors. They were warriors ready to fight for justice and hope. And the fleet was ready to answer the SOS with destruction. The fleet moved deeper into the Zelran system. Stars passed by as the ships sailed silently through the dark space. The destruction around them was clear. Broken ships floated like ghosts. Planets once full of life were scarred by fire and ruin. The Zelran were fighting a losing battle. Marn stood on the bridge, staring at the view screens. His heart ached for the Zelran people. He had only heard their message through the SOS signal, but now he saw the terrible cost of war. The invaders were strong and merciless, but Marn knew his people had something different, something the enemy would never understand. Ral approached him, his face serious. "The enemy's forces are larger than we expected. Their ships move fast and strike hard." Marn nodded. "We knew this would be dangerous, but we cannot turn back now." Nora joined them, her fingers flying over the controls. "The Zelran are sending us information about their remaining forces. They need us to strike quickly before everything is lost." Marn looked around at his commanders. "We will use the skills that have kept us alive on Grath. We will fight smart, and we will fight hard." The fleet slowed as it approached the first battle zone. Marn gave the order to prepare for combat. The ships shifted into formation, their weapons powered and ready. Inside the ships, the soldiers felt the tension rise. Many had never fired a weapon in anger, but the training and harsh life on Grath had prepared them. They focused on the task ahead. The first battle was sudden and fierce. Enemy scouts appeared. Sleek and deadly, they fired their weapons, forcing the Deathworlders to dodge and fight back. The fleet moved quickly, using the rocky debris in space as cover. The Deathworlders fought with a brutal efficiency that surprised the enemy. Ral led a squadron to attack the enemy's flanks. He used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and then disappearing into the shadows of asteroids. Nora coordinated the defense, keeping communication open between ships. Marn watched the battle from the command bridge. His mind raced with strategy. The Deathworlders could not match the enemy's technology, but they could use their cunning and endurance. After hours of fighting, the Deathworlders destroyed several enemy ships. The fleet took losses too, but they pushed forward. The Zelran fighters cheered as they saw help arriving. Marn sent a message to the Zelran leaders. "We have arrived. Together, we will fight to save your home." The Zelran response was filled with gratitude and hope. They shared details about the invaders' next moves. The Deathworlders planned their next strike carefully. As the fleet moved to the next battle, Marn spoke to his crew. "This war is not just about weapons and ships. It is about courage and the will to survive. Remember why we fight." Ral gathered the soldiers for a quick briefing. "We are not just soldiers. We are Deathworlders. We have faced death on our home planet every day. Here, We use that strength to protect others." The soldiers felt a new fire inside them. They were ready for whatever came next. The second battle was even more dangerous. The enemy had fortified a large asteroid base. It was heavily defended and well hidden. The Deathworlders could not attack head-on. Martin decided on a different plan, using small ships. The warriors would sneak into the base and sabotage the defenses. From inside, it was a risky mission. Raul led the team. They flew close to the asteroid. Avoiding radar and patrols, inside the base, they moved quickly, disabling weapons and communication systems. The enemy was caught off guard. Nora monitored the mission from the fleet, sending updates and guiding the team through the complex tunnels. The Deathworlders worked with quiet determination. The sabotage was a success. The asteroid base's defenses were crippled. The main fleet attacked and destroyed the enemy ships that came to protect it. The Zilran cheered for the Deathworlders. Their hope grew stronger. Marn knew the battles ahead would be harder. The enemy would not give up easily. But the Deathworlders had shown their strength. In quiet moments, Marn thought about Grath. The harsh storms, the dangerous creatures, the endless fight for survival. Those experiences had made his people tough. They had learned to expect the worst and fight back. Now, that strength was their greatest weapon. The fleet prepared for the next battle. The stars waited silently as the Deathworlders sailed deeper into war. Marn stood tall on the bridge. The future was uncertain. Danger was close. But he had faith in his people. They were Deathworlders. They would fight and survive. The fleet moved closer to the heart of the Zelran system. The destruction was deeper here. Planets were scarred with craters, cities were in ruins, and dark smoke rose into the skies. The Deathworlders could see the cost of the war on the faces of the Zelran. Fighters who met them. Marn stood on the bridge of the lead ship. His eyes scanned the view screens. A mix of hope and sorrow filled him. The Zelran were brave. But they were losing. They needed help more than ever. The fleet received a message from the Zelran commander, named Saren. His voice was tired but strong. "Thank you for coming. Our forces are holding, but we cannot last much longer. The invaders have new weapons and tactics. We need your help now." Marn nodded. "We are here to fight. Tell us where you need us." Saren sent coordinates of a nearby battle zone. The enemy had set up a forward base on a moon orbiting one of the Zelran's main planets. It was a critical point. If the invaders took the moon, they would control the whole system. Marn gathered his commanders. "This battle will be our first true test. We must strike hard and fast." Raul prepared his warriors for the fight. The soldiers tightened their gear and checked their weapons. Nora worked on the ship's targeting systems, making sure everything was ready. The Deathworlders' ships approached the moon in tight formation. The enemy's defenses were strong. Laser turrets and missile launchers covered the surface. The skies were filled with enemy fighters. The battle began with a roar. The Deathworlders fired their weapons, dodging enemy fire. The ships moved quickly, using the moon's craters for cover. Marn's voice was calm but firm over the comms. "Focus on their supply lines. Cut off their reinforcements." Raul led a squadron to attack the enemy fighters. His team flew with skill, using their knowledge of Grath's dangerous terrain to move in and out of the fight. They used hit-and-run tactics that confused the enemy on the moon's surface. Nora guided a team of soldiers in drop pods. They landed behind enemy lines. Their mission was to destroy the moon's power stations, crippling the enemy's defenses. The soldiers moved carefully through dark tunnels and rocky landscapes. They faced enemy patrols but fought with determination. The harsh training on Grath had prepared them for this. Back in space, the fleet took heavy fire. Ships were damaged and some were lost. But the Deathworlders did not give up. Their resilience shocked the enemy. The invaders had never faced warriors so relentless. Marn watched the battle closely. He ordered the fleet to focus on one enemy ship at a time. Take it down quickly before it can call for help. Raul's squadron intercepted a group of enemy fighters trying to escape. The Deathworlders surrounded them, forcing the enemy to surrender or be destroyed. The prisoners were taken for questioning. Meanwhile, Nora's team reached the power stations. They planted explosives and set timers. The countdown began as they fought their way back to the drop pods. The explosions rocked the moon. The enemy's defenses flickered and went dark. The fleet seized the opportunity. They launched a final assault, breaking through the weakened shields. The invaders' forces began to retreat. The Zelleran fighters cheered. The Deathworlders had won their first battle. Marn felt a surge of pride. His people had proven themselves. They were not just survivors, but warriors. The Zelleran commander Saren contacted Marn again. "Your help has saved us. We owe you our lives." Marn replied, "This is only the beginning. We will fight until your home is safe." The fleet rested briefly, repairing ships and caring for the wounded. The soldiers shared stories of their first battle. Many felt a new strength inside them. They had faced the enemy and won. Marn walked among the crew. He saw hope in their eyes. The Deathworlders had come far from their home on Grath. They had become a force to be reckoned with. But Marn knew the war was far from over. The enemy would return stronger. The next battles would be harder. He looked at the stars beyond the moon. The war for the Zelleran system was just beginning. The Deathworlders were ready. After the victory on the moon, the Deathworlders' fleet moved deeper into the Zelleran system. The battle had shown their strength, but it also revealed the enemy's determination. The invaders were not going to give up easily. They were ruthless, and their power was still great. Marn stood on the command bridge of the lead ship. His face was serious. The war was far from over. The fleet had won a battle, but the enemy had many ships and strong bases. The Deathworlders needed a plan to keep fighting and protect the Zelleran people. Ral joined Marn. "The enemy is gathering forces in the next sector. They will try to take the main planet soon." Marn nodded. "We cannot let that happen. If they control the main planet, the system will fall." Nora showed a map of the sector. "The enemy's new base is hidden in an asteroid belt. It is well protected and difficult to find." Marn thought carefully. "We need to strike before they are ready, but we must be careful. This mission will be dangerous." The commanders called a meeting with the fleet's leaders. They shared the plan. A small team would sneak into the asteroid belt to find and destroy the enemy base. The rest of the fleet would wait and protect the Zelleran planets. The warriors prepared. They checked their weapons and ships. The Deathworlders had learned much from previous battles. Their skills and teamwork had grown stronger. Leon, the young soldier Marn had met before, was chosen to lead the small team. She was brave and smart. Her experience hunting dangerous creatures on Grath made her perfect for this mission. As the team entered the asteroid belt, the space around them became chaotic. Huge rocks floated everywhere. The enemy had set traps and hidden mines. Every step could be deadly. Leon's ship moved carefully, using the asteroid's shadows for cover. The other team members followed, ready for any attack. Suddenly, an explosion shook the fleet. A nearby ship was hit by a hidden mine. The team jumped into action, repairing the damage while staying alert. The asteroid belt was like a maze. The team had to find the enemy base without being seen. Nora guided them from the main fleet, using sensors and signals. After hours of careful searching, Leon spotted a large structure hidden inside a massive asteroid. The base was dark and heavily armed. Leon contacted Marn. "We found it. The enemy's new base is here. We will begin the attack." Marn's voice was calm but firm. "Be careful. Destroy the base quickly and get out." The team prepared weapons and set their ships for battle. They fired warning shots, drawing enemy fighters out. The enemy responded fiercely. Fighters swarmed around the team's ships. The Deathworlders fought back with skill and courage. Leon's ship broke through the base's outer defenses. She led a small strike team inside. Moving through dark tunnels and control rooms, the enemy fought hard. The battle inside the base was close and dangerous, but the Deathworlders' training on Grath gave them an edge. They used their knowledge of survival and combat to push forward. Ral's warriors disabled the base's power systems while Nora hacked into the enemy computers. The explosion started, shaking the asteroid. The team escaped just before the base blew up. The destruction caused chaos among the enemy forces. The Deathworlders had struck a strong blow. But the victory came with a price. The enemy had launched a surprise attack on the Zelran main planet. The Deathworlders' fleet rushed to defend it. Marn gave the order to prepare for the biggest battle yet. This is the moment we prove our strength. We fight for the Zelran and for our people. The skies above the main planet filled with enemy ships. The battle was fierce. The Deathworlders fought with all their skill and heart. The invaders were powerful, but they could not break the warriors born on Grath. Leon led daring attacks, breaking enemy lines, route-coordinated defenses, protecting the fleet's weak points. Nora kept the fleet connected and focused. The battle lasted for hours. Ships exploded, and lasers cut through space. The Deathworlders suffered losses, but they did not give up. At last, the enemy began to retreat. The Zelran planet was safe for now. Marn looked at his weary crew. We have won today, but the war is far from over. We must be ready for whatever comes next. The Zelran people cheered. They had hope again. The Deathworlders had answered the call for help, bringing strength where it was needed most. Marn walked through the ships, speaking with soldiers and engineers. He saw courage and determination in every face. The Deathworlders were not just survivors anymore. They were protectors, warriors of the stars. But the shadow of war still loomed. The enemy would return, stronger and more dangerous. Marn knew the next battles would test everything they had, and the Deathworlders would face them with courage, strength, and the will to survive. The calm after the battle above the Zelran planet was brief. The fleet rested, repaired, and prepared. Marn knew the enemy was not defeated, only delayed. The invaders were powerful, but they were also clever. They would find new ways to strike. Marn gathered his commanders on the lead ship. We cannot just wait for them to come again. We need to find their base of operations. We must strike at the heart of their power. Nora nodded. Our sensors have detected strange signals from a distant moon. It could be their command. Centaur Brow added, if we destroy their command, it will break their control. It will give us a chance to end this war. The fleet changed course. They moved quietly, hoping to surprise the enemy. The moon was covered in thick clouds and heavy storms. It was a dangerous place, hiding many secrets. As the fleet approached, Nora worked hard to decode the signals. She found signs of enemy ships gathering and strange energy readings. The moon was not just a base. It was a place of strange experiments. Marn looked at the data with concern. What kind of experiments? Nora answered. It looks like the enemy is using the moon to create new weapons and technologies. Things we have never seen. The commanders planned carefully. They would send a small team to the surface to gather more information. The team would be led by Leon, who had proven herself brave and smart in past battles. Leon accepted the mission without hesitation. We will find the truth. We will stop them. The team landed on the moon's surface in small, silent ships. The storm roared around them, making it hard to see. The ground was rocky and strange. Strange machines and towers rose from the clouds. Leon and her team moved carefully. They avoided enemy patrols and used the rough terrain for cover. They reached a hidden underground facility. Inside, they found strange machines and glowing crystals. The air felt heavy and strange. The team hacked into the facility's computer systems. Nora helped from the fleet, guiding them through the networks. They discovered the enemy was experimenting with powerful energy weapons and dangerous creatures. The invaders planned to use these to destroy whole planets. Leon's team took photos and collected samples. They knew this information was vital. Suddenly, alarms blared. The enemy had discovered them. The team fought hard, using all their skills. They escaped just in time, racing back to their ships. As enemy fighters closed in, back in space, the fleet prepared for battle. The enemy had sent a large force to protect their secret base. The Deathworlders faced the biggest fight yet. Marn gave orders with calm strength. We fight with everything we have, for the Zelran and for our future. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Ships darted through the stormy skies of the moon. lasers cutting through clouds and smoke. The Deathworlders used their speed and skill to avoid the enemy's heavy fire. Leon led daring attacks on enemy ships, breaking their lines. Raoul commanded the defense, protecting the fleet's weakest points. Nora kept communications open. Coordinating every move, the enemy used new weapons. But the Deathworlders' determination was stronger. They pushed forward, striking at the heart of the enemy fleet. Finally, the enemy's command ship exploded in a burst of light. The storm round the moon seemed to quiet. The fleet cheered. They had struck a heavy blow. Marn looked at his crew. This victory shows what we can do when we fight together. But the war is not over. The enemy will rise again. The Deathworlders and Zelran began repairing the damage and caring for the wounded. The soldiers shared stories of bravery and sacrifice. They knew more battles awaited. Marn stood on the deck, looking at the stars. The war had changed his people. They were no longer just survivors of a harsh world. They were warriors of the stars, ready to protect those who could not protect themselves. He thought about the future, uncertain, dangerous, but full of hope. The Deathworlders would continue to fight, their spirits unbroken because on the darkest night, their light would shine brightest. The battle over the stormy moon was won, but the war had left its mark on the Deathworlders. Their ships were damaged, many soldiers were tired, but their spirit was unbroken. Marn stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching the stars. He thought about all they had faced and all that still waited ahead. The Zelran people were grateful. Their planet was safe for now, and their hope had returned. Marn knew this was more than a victory in battle. It was a chance for new beginnings. The enemy had lost their command center. Their weapons experiments were destroyed. But Marn also knew the invaders would not give up easily. They were clever and dangerous. The war was not over until the enemy's power was broken completely. The fleet gathered for a meeting. Marn spoke clearly and with strength. We have shown what Deathworlders can do. We fought not just with weapons, but with courage. The Zelran people are counting on us. We must stand together. Raoul nodded. We have the advantage now. The enemy is scattered and confused. Nora added, our technology is stronger because of what we learned. We can strike fast and hard. Marn smiled. Then it is time to end this. We will take the fight to the enemy's homeworld. The fleet prepared for the journey to the enemy's stronghold. The path was dangerous, filled with unknown threats, but the Deathworlders were ready. As the fleet approached the enemy home world, the stars seemed to grow darker. The enemy had built huge defenses. Massive warships and powerful weapons surrounded the planet. Marn and his commanders studied the enemy's defenses carefully. They planned a surprise attack, using every skill and lesson they had learned. The battle began with a sudden strike. The Deathworlders used their fast ships to break through the outer defenses. The enemy fired back fiercely, but the Deathworlders moved like shadows, avoiding the worst of the attacks inside the enemy fleet. The fighting was intense. Leon led a squadron that flew close to enemy ships, destroying key weapons systems. Raoul organized the fleet's defense, keeping their ships safe. Nora worked to disable the enemy's communication. Without their signals, the enemy ships were confused and disorganized. Marn directed the fleet with calm and clear orders. Every move was planned, every strike precise. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded in bursts of light. The sky was filled with fire and smoke. But the Deathworlders never lost hope. Their strength came from more than weapons. It came from the will to protect life and freedom. Finally, the enemy's main warship was destroyed. The remaining forces began to retreat. The fleet cheered, but Marn knew the victory was not just about winning a battle. It was about ending the war and building a future. The enemy home world was now open. The Zelran people and the Deathworlders could bring peace. Marn, send a message to the Zelran leaders. The war is over. We have won. But now begins the work of rebuilding. The Zelran sent their thanks and promises of friendship. The Deathworlders had earned respect and trust. The fleet stayed in the system to help the Zelran rebuild. Together, they repaired cities, healed the wounded, and restored hope. Marn walked among the Zelran people. He saw children playing again, farmers working the land, and leaders planning for peace. The Deathworlders had come far from their harsh home on Grath. They had answered a call for help and changed the fate of a whole star system. Marn thought about what lay ahead. There would always be challenges, but with courage, strength, and unity, the future was bright. He looked up at the stars and smiled. The Deathworlders were no longer just survivors. They were heroes, and their story was just beginning.